All right. Okay, so today we are going to dive into SEO. So SEO is one of those topics that it kind of touches everything in marketing. And it's extremely broad, and it would probably take days, months to teach in-depth marketing because there's so many components. So marketing includes domain names and hosting. It includes website design and development. It includes content, so text, images, videos, website pages, blog articles, what you do with that content. So publication, distribution, social media marketing can also be a component of SEO, citations, business profiles, maps profiles, automations, funnels, even personal networking and relationships can tie into your SEO. So the list goes on and on and on. And each of those items could be an entire career all on its own for SEO. So that's the crazy thing of how expansive it is. Today, we're just going to do an overview. So we're going to skim the surface of SEO, so just so you can get like an idea of it. And just some of the main aspects. So they're important to know and have a basic understanding of them, especially working at a marketing agency, and especially the fact that we, as a full service marketing agency, offer SEO services. So it's good to understand them. So, so let's dive in. You guys all commented that you liked your little dictionary at the beginning, right? So so we're going to walk through a lot of these terms. I say them naturally, so I need to explain what they are, right? So when referring to some of this. So a lot of this is standard marketing terminology. Some of those on the right, like click-through rate, all of that standard, you guys should already know it. But some of these are SEO specific. So SEO as a word means search engine optimization. It's basically actions you take to make your website rank higher in search results. So, and it has different components. So there's on-site and off-site. So when I say SEO, I mean all of it. SERP, you'll hear and see that term. It's basically the search engine results page. So when you go to Google and type in a search phrase, that results page is called a SERP. So just know that. Anytime I refer to something as organic, whether it's an organic post, an organic search result, organic leads, it just means you didn't pay for them, that they came in naturally is the concept there. So natural, organic, thus the term. Paid ads, lead is anybody who gives you their contact information, who is typically interested in your product and service. That defines a lead. A conversion, people get confused by the word conversion, and it's a very dynamic, versatile word because it means to complete an objective. So your objective then is a variable. So it's not set or defined. So an objective can be fill out a lead capture form, call you, purchase something, sign up for a free account, right? Those can all be an objective. A conversion is somebody who completes that objective. Does that make sense? Because you guys are going to hear me use this word a lot. So it's good to understand that. So click-through rate, cost per click, CPLs, cost per lead, cost per acquisition. That's one that a lot of people don't know. So a CPA, cost per acquisition. You guys should all know these in your day-to-day working with ads and such. When I refer to a visitor or a user, that can be someone or something. So understand that both humans and robots use websites. And so when I say visitor, that's not defining that it has to be a person. It's just saying like hits to your website and it could be a person going to your website. It could be a search bot crawling your website. So just understand that terminology. When I talk about a user is a human. So I'll say a new user versus just user. A new user means that it's their first time visiting your website versus a user could be their first time, second time, third time, fourth time, right? So visits versus visitors. So visits means hits to a website. People, go into your website, whereas visitor, meaning, I just covered that above, visitor, user. So that could be anybody, any person, any bot. So just to clarify. So this also goes back to, I teach you guys, be specific with your words. So this is why it matters when you say new user versus user. You are very specifically saying it's this human's first time visiting a website when you say new user. Okay. Mean what you say. Be specific with your words. Don't just blab words out thinking it sounds impressive and professional and all that. Words have meanings. Use them correctly. So it can cause issues just blurting words out that, maybe you're not being specific with your words. Does this all make sense to everybody? You guys all getting it? All right. So the other terminology you guys are going to hear me talk about is white hat, gray hat, black hat. So this actually comes from the hacking world, but also is used in other industries such as SEO. And basically anything tech related, you might hear the terms white hat, gray hat, black hat. And it typically indicates good, questionable, and bad, right? So in SEO, white hats follow the rules. It may take longer to get results, but you don't have to worry about getting blacklisted. And we're going to dive into this in more detail, but I just need you to understand the terminology for white hat, gray hat, black hat. Gray hat usually does a lot of white hat tactics, but will also mix in questionable tactics that maybe they're not against the rules, but are either not defined as good or bad, but ethically questionable. And a lot of times gray hat practices eventually become black hat practices and get penalized down the road. So black hat, unfortunately, tons of black hat agencies out there, and SEO professionals. And you just have to be careful when hiring an SEO agency, because using black hat tactics and techniques can actually do permanent damage to your online brand. And you can get blacklisted and banned from even ranking in search engines using black hat techniques. So an example is buying reviews. Okay, so it was never defined. Typically, buying anything in SEO is gray hat, black hat. Buying reviews was never blatantly banned, but it was ethically questionable. And sometimes it was used with good intent. So there's what's called negative SEO, and I'll explain it in a little bit. Negative SEO, or maybe some spamming bots went and posted bad reviews. They're fake. The person was never a customer of yours, but now your star rating got knocked down. So you may have good intent of buying reviews to get your star rating back up. And so that's where you're counteracting black hat techniques, where it would be considered like gray hat. But like buying reviews now is completely illegal in the US. Like you can be heavily fined. So that was something that wasn't necessarily defined before. There was no penalty, anything like that, but now there is. So that's where it went gray hat to black hat. So the problem is that white hat people techniques, all of that, will sometimes turn to gray hat techniques because of black hat people, right? Just to even have a chance of competing. Search engines want all white hat people so that they constantly change their algorithm to reward doing the right thing, the white hat, and penalizing black hat. The problem is that black hat are cheaters, right? So of course they're going to continually find loopholes and how to game and cheat the system to win. So it's this constant battle, and that's why Google has so many algorithm updates, is to combat black hat. So, and this gets extremely competitive in e-commerce when there is so much money involved. And also with agencies, it's a huge problem with SEO agencies. So we all know clients demand fast results or they'll quit the agency. So the agency needs the revenue to pay their team. So they'll actually resort to black hat techniques to then keep the client happy, right? In the end, it's the client who typically ends up losing because of these algorithm changes, and they end up getting blacklisted, all because of this need for instant gratification when hiring out SEO services. SEO is a ton of work, it's expensive, and of course, if you're paying out a ton of money as a client, you want results as fast as possible, right? So that's where these agencies will then enlist black hat techniques. Sometimes the clients don't even know that an SEO agency is utilizing these techniques. But what happens is they get blacklisted and the client pays for it, right? So they get banned and their site gets deranked and all this stuff. So you then get into like he said, she said situations. Client talks shit about the agency, says they did a bad job, gives them bad reviews online. The SEO agency, in general, agencies will then just get a bad rap, right? So as clients move through agencies and either have slow results because the agency was utilizing white hat techniques, or they got fast results and got banned, and then they're, mad. So it's this infinite cycle here, right? So a few things with SEO is education is key. So clients have to be educated and have this explained to them, at least so that they understand the basics on what they're buying, what it means, the timelines they should be expecting. Agencies should not be using black hat techniques. And if clients are properly educated on SEO basics, they shouldn't be expecting fast results because SEO is a long-term game. And so that's where it just becomes a matter of setting expectations with clients. So, of course, a lot of clients will go with whatever agency promises what they want them to hear, right? So if client says, hey, I need fast results now, can you give it to me? And of course, an agency who's desperate for revenue will promise the client whatever they want to hear. Okay. So that's, educated client is a good client. Okay. So it becomes a vicious cycle of good agencies tend to be the losers in situations, and why there's fewer and fewer good SEO agencies out there is because they keep getting bombarded by these clients who expect fast results. They getting, these black hat agencies keep, running loopholes and all of this stuff. So just kind of it's developed over the past 20 years. It gets uglier and uglier. Future of it, I don't know. We're still going to need it, especially even with AI, but something to be aware of. So history. So back when I started at our predecessor company, prior to MedspaBloom, so we had an actual SEO team, And when I first started here, they used all black hat techniques. It like boggled my mind that we were doing this. And I'll even cover some of the things that were happening. So shortly after joining the company, taking over operations, basically shut that shit down real quick because it was going to harm the client, and it's ethically unacceptable. And so we course corrected. We went back to white hat. We went back to explaining to clients timelines and what they should expect and all of that. So just be aware, like our history, and even every now and then I'll still catch things like, oh, that's still running. Okay, let me shut that down. So we are very much white hat now. We will not take on clients looking for black hat. So, all right. Here's what we're going to cover. So SEO, we're going to go over what it is, why you do it, considerations, types of SEO. So there's on-site SEO, there's off-site SEO, also additional things to be aware of. So blacklisting, scoring, results, all of that. So let's jump right in. SEO overview. So first, previous presentation was on websites, right? So how websites work. And I explain this every time. Your website is the hub of all of your marketing. So it's usually the primary driver for online leads. And it's open 24/7. People can complete your objective when it's convenient for them, whether it's requesting information, booking an appointment, buying a product or service. It's always there, always ready. So getting those bookings and purchases has been simplified down into an equation, even though it's a flawed equation, because I'm going to explain this to you because it's going to matter later on when we talk numbers. So this equation is that it takes about, it's your average conversion rate on a website is 3.3%. So for every, and this is across the board, all industries average, okay? So 3.3% of your traffic will convert, meaning conversion. So whatever your objective is. So for every 100 visitors, 3 to 4 are going to fill out your form or book an appointment or buy a product, okay? You're going to have variations in different industries, but across the board, that's average. So if life and marketing was actually easy, right? This would be a simple math situation and a numbers game, that the more people who visit your website you're going to have more people who are likely to become a customer, which means more money for you. Okay, so how do you get more visitors to your website so that you can get that conversion rate and get more customers and more revenue, right? So last time we talked about how your website, once you build it, your website is an island. And how do you build roads into it to get that traffic, to get those conversions? So the most logical, easy way is through search engines. So when people are looking for what you have in search engines, when they type in a search related to what you have and your website comes up, they can click to it. And that's one of those roads into your website, right? So then this brings us to SEO. So how do you get your website to show up first? First of all, to even show up on a search engine. And then secondly, to show up first in the rankings. So the great thing is that most search engines will actually tell you what to do to rank higher, right? So search engines want good content to rank higher so that the people find what they're looking for and keep using the search engine, because the search engine then monetizes all of that data and also by ads, right? So they make all their money on running ads. So the more people they have coming to their search engine, the more money they're going to make. And the more people you have clicking on your link to your website from the search engine, the more money you make, right? So so they don't want bad results. They want good content related to what people are looking for. And so that's if you have good content, good relevant content, related to the keywords, search phrases, and audience that are using the search engines, they're going to reward you by ranking your information higher. So that's what SEO is, right? To first of all, get into a search engine and then rank higher in search engines, hopefully for first. So, oh, I missed a graphic here. Sorry. All marketing is content, right? You guys hear this from me all the time, grinding this into your heads. This is why we put emphasis on every single person in this company learning how to produce good content, because we are all marketers working at a marketing company. We all need to know how to produce content. So it's going to serve you here at this company, and it's going to help this company. Will also help you in your future endeavors. If you have a side hustle and need to market it, right? If you have your own startup and need to market it, all marketing is content. And learning how to create good content is critical to run good marketing. So, you guys all have these monthly tasks of creating content. And this is, I was talking to Hannah this morning and I said, everything I do is multi-purpose. And teaching you guys how to produce good content is multi-purpose because it's going to help you. It's going to help this company. You're going to learn all these skills. You're going to build up your personal brand. You're going to become the experts in what you're creating and generating and teaching. So that's, multi-purpose for that. All right. So all marketing is content. All marketing content is for lead generation. So the reason you produce good marketing content is for lead generation, to get the lead so you can get the sale. And ultimately, that's what everything is about, right? The almighty dollar. More content equals more rank equals more traffic equals more leads equals more sales equals more money. Okay, all about money. So SEO is content. It always has been, it always will be. It has since 1998 when I started, when search engines came into existence. SEO has always been about good content. This has never changed. There are cheaters, scammers, black hat people out there who will try and tell you otherwise. They run marketing campaigns saying they know this one secret trick. It doesn't matter. It's always about good quality content. Even after the robots and AI take all of your jobs and you're living on universal basic income, you're going to need content to entertain your lazy ass, right? So content is everything, because with all of your free time, what do you do with yourself? You're going to watch content, because content is text, images, videos, okay? Somebody's going to generate something new and entertaining, a la content, to charge you a portion of your UBI to view it, because everything is about content to get the almighty dollar or peso or loonie or whatever. But it's this infinite loop. Okay. Do you see the cycle here? So all SEO is content. All content is for leads. So ultimately, we are after leads. So then we get into the optimization game of how cheap can I get new leads? Maximizing your marketing return on investment, meaning for every dollar you spend, how many leads do you get? How many of those leads turn into purchases? So comparing organic leads to paid leads, meaning leads coming from search results versus leads coming from a paid medium such as advertising, Facebook ads, Google ads, organic SEO leads. These are going to be cheaper leads even if you pay for an SEO service. What's great is that it's actually free to do, and you can learn to do it yourself on your own, and you don't have to pay somebody. The effort that you put in to SEO will pay off long term. So even if you fire your SEO company, the leads will keep rolling in. Any work that you put into yourself, into your SEO, will pay off for months, years down the line. The downside of organic leads is that it takes a long time to build up. So although Google's getting better about discovering new websites, new content, ranking them, all of that, it's still considered a long-term game, okay? Sometimes you can see results in about a month, but then it needs time to build up. And the problem is that humans are impatient and want immediate gratification, meaning results, meaning immediate leads, so they can get immediate sales. And that's where paid ads come in. Paid ads are great. So like Google ads, the ads you see first in search results. So paid ads are great if you need an immediate result. If you need immediate leads, usually same day. Sometimes they're a greater quantity of leads. It just depends how much you're spending to rank first in the ads, to get if your ads run all day, if they just run until you run out of budget. The problem is that when you stop paying, you stop getting. So unlike organic, where if you invest once, it pays off long term, ads are very expensive, and when you stop paying, they stop working. And this is where I always recommend pairing both organic and paid marketing tactics, because it's going to balance your immediate need for leads with your long-term lead generation and goals and sustainability. So this is also the reason we reworked some of our marketing plans as so that it includes both short-term and long-term. So it includes both organic marketing tactics and techniques and paid. And it's a much more holistic approach to marketing for both getting immediate leads and then also long-term leads. And this is done with the client's best interest, right? So that they get immediate, they're happy, they love it, and long-term, they're going to keep getting. Versus a lot of the, I call them marketing bros out there who are just looking to line their own pockets, to get their own leads, to force clients into contracts and paying them tons of money. And they don't give much regard to the long-term health and the long-term success of their clients and their clients' businesses. And that's where we differentiate from a lot of the other med spa marketing agencies out there, is shifting our focus. And that's why we have our optimize, grow, balance, right? It's all about long-term sustainability, health, healthy growth is what we focus on. So let's start getting into the data, right? So this is another testament to organic tactics. So on a search results page, organic will outperform paid ads every time. Rank matters if you're looking for click-throughs. And if you want to dominate a singular keyword or search phrase, you work on both ranking for it organically, and you'll set up paid ads with high budgets to ensure that you are all over that front page for those target keywords. For some keywords, this could mean millions of click-throughs per day, right? If you're in ads, first on ads and first in organic. Plus, the fact that you're on there 2 times creates that sense of trust, that you're legit, that people can trust your brand, right? So it could mean millions of click-throughs every day. And if we start running the math of 1 million click-throughs with a 3% conversion rate for a $20 product, you're talking about $600,000 per day. And this is another factor that sometimes websites are built just to generate traffic to them, because what they'll do is set themselves up as an ad displayer. So they display ads on their pages and they get paid per view, so that the more people who go to their website, they get paid for it. They don't even need to close a sale, capture a lead, or anything. Their entire purpose or objective is to have a viewer on that site. And sites like that are after very, very, very large amounts of traffic. And so when you get into that kind of money, when you're talking, $1 million, almost $1 million a day, it's extremely competitive, right? And it's also why people and companies are willing to cheat and to risk getting caught, because the payoffs can be so big. And again, we get down to that almighty dollar, peso, loonie, right? Because the payoffs can be so big. This is why SEO as an industry and as a career is so lucrative, to be able to rank first for those target keywords and phrases. The thing is that ranking is free. So the problem is that anytime there's money involved, there's going to be people who try to scam the system and get their hands on that cash. And this is where you have to decide, am I going to be white hat, gray hat, black hat? Okay. And if you're going to hire an agency, what type of agency are they? Are you going to hire a white hat, gray hat, black hat agency? And even some agencies will try and scam you, saying they're white hat and do things by the book, but then use gray hat and black hat just to get faster results to impress you, right? And it's all fun and games until you, not them, your website gets caught, gets banned forever. And you literally have to start over from scratch to relaunch your business under a different business name, under a different domain, sometime using different IP addresses to access the internet. It can just devastate entire companies. So just be aware, right? So what approach are you going to use? The other component is getting into human versus robot, right? So a human will see a website very differently than Google or a search engine will, right? Shocker, right? Search engines do not see websites the way that humans do. So search engine robots have to crawl the internet to index websites to get them added into their directory, right? So when they do that, they see the code of the website. And we've talked about this in previous trainings. So when I talk about website development, that is the coding side of the website. And this is where the quality of your web developer, your coder, will affect your search ranking. And it's extremely beneficial, but extremely rare to find a developer who knows how to code and understands SEO. So when you get a developer who understands coding, who can actually write the code and understands SEO, they can properly code your website so that it ranks better and ranks higher. So for the longest time, websites that were built in WordPress never ranked high because WordPress is extremely bloated in code. And it took 2,000 lines of code before you actually even got to the text, the body content of the website that a human would see. And so for years, WordPress websites never ranked. And so it was best practice to not build your website in WordPress if you wanted to rank higher. So one of the, so what we used to do back, I mean, and this is 8-10 years ago, good websites that you were specifically building to rank in SEO were hand coded, meaning you had to have a really good developer that knew how to code websites and would build it from scratch versus using WordPress or any other builder. So the new thing, because WordPress has become so popular, um, and is now the majority, I think like 80% of the world's websites are built on WordPress now. Google had to update their algorithm to address the code bloat of WordPress and other builders so that you don't get penalized as heavily for it. But to this day, this rule still kind of applies. And I bet you if you clean coded a website, you could outperform a WordPress website. So code bloat is just one of those things, right? So do you build it for the human or do you build it for the robot? Is what you get into. And so here, okay, so fancy styling, convenient features, all of these things lead to code bloat. And that's where you get into, is it more important that you design and build for a human, or do you design and build for search rank, right? I'm going to implore everybody to build for the human because this is all meant for human consumption. Um, Sometimes you get backed into a corner where you have to choose human or robot. Always choose the human. Okay. The robot isn't going to buy anything from you. And I'll caveat that with yet, because maybe in a few years, AI will take over and be operating autonomously. And then you need to sell things to a robot, but we're not there yet. It's probably coming, but we're not there yet. So for now, always build and design for the human. Okay. So a lot of people will say that they want SEO, but they don't actually know what they want. Um, Ultimately, their goal is always to get more sales, and how you get more sales is through more leads, right? So that's probably what they want. They don't want SEO, they want more leads and sales, okay? Or sometimes, and I've run into this so many times in my career, it's an ego thing. And they want to outrank their competitor. They're not necessarily worried that they get more leads or more sales. They're doing fine, but it hurts their ego that their competitor ranks higher than them, right? So when people say they want SEO, it's usually that they want something else. It's just that they think that SEO is going to get them that thing. So, um, we're going to walk through both sides of SEO. There's on-site SEO and off-site SEO. And we're just going to walk through highlights. Like I said at the beginning, each one of these is a black hole. It'd take forever to explain them in depth, but we'll skim the surface, give a broad understanding, and dive into some actual SEO tactics and things. These are things that you guys can use today. If you have side hustles, other companies, you can use this and apply this. So I will be discussing white hat, gray hat, black hat. And this is more not to tell you what black hat things to go do, but it's more like what to avoid, right? Unless you decide to be black hat, and then, best of luck, fuck off. When hiring an agency, it's good to know these tactics, explaining white hat, gray hat, black hat, so that when you hire an agency, you know what to ask and you know what to look for. Because there will be indicators in the data, and I actually have data screenshots to show you guys that you can see if they're doing white hat, gray hat, black hat, okay? And then you can kind of gauge if you want to keep them or not and see if it's a good fit. So, all right. First, domain names. So we talked about domain names in how websites work. So one of the very first things you do when you want to build a website is buy a domain name. What people don't realize is that a domain name can actually affect your search ranking. And so they walk into it blindly, they buy the weirdest domain name they can think of, and then wonder, why their search rank isn't as high, because it's a factor, right? So how long your domain has been registered, what keywords are in your domain name, even your registration and DNS information can play a factor in your scoring of your domain name. So, and of course, some people know this and will strategically purchase specific domain names like dentistnearme.com, right? So to give them that extra little, what if it's one extra point that puts them above their competitor, right? So get all the points you can, and I'll explain this point system in a little bit. Even including if you this is where it pays to know your short-term plan, long-term plan. If you know that you're going to grow bigger than your state, then don't register a domain name with your state name in it. If you never want to grow bigger than your state, then maybe have your state name or abbreviation in your domain name, because that's just going to help you in the search rankings for that state. So those are all things you have to take into consideration when you go to name your business, right? So, all right, hosting. So we talked about hosting also last time. In website hosting will have a huge effect on website performance. Everybody always tries to get the cheapest host they can find. They think it's useless. They want like $5 hosting, and it's going to cost them in their search rankings. The faster the server can load your website, the better, right? So how fast a server runs can depend on temperature, physical temperature of the server itself, how many files are on the server, how much software is loaded on the server, the physical hardware of the server, and also how large the files of your website are, right? So all of those server things are, if you're going to pay, you get what you pay for with hosting. If you're going to pay for cheap hosting, they're going to have shitty servers with bad hardware in a poorly air-conditioned environment where it's hot, so the server runs slower. All these things are going to affect your load speed of your website, which is a huge ranking factor. How fast does your website load? And even, here's the other component of it, association with other websites on the same server as you. Okay, so this matters. Are your website neighbors on your server spam sites? You can't control that, right? But it is a factor. So because if all of your neighbor sites are all spam sites, you are who you hang out with. And if your website is surrounded, who may be legitimate, is surrounded by all these spam sites, you are going to be considered spam. So this is why some larger websites will actually have dedicated servers just for their website, because then they can have control over speed, over their server neighbors, and all of these other factors. But it's extremely expensive. I do this with my other companies. I actually pay, so I'm on AWS, Amazon hosting, and we pay for our own server. And I'm paying close to $1,000 a month for website hosting because I want to control that server, that environment, the speed of my websites, all of that. So, and no, Jojo, you don't know who your neighbors are. You have no control over that. So the hosting company has control over what sites go on what servers, not you. And so the only way you can control that is to get your own server. So if it is a high stakes and it's worth it, so with my companies, it was worth it to pay to have my own server. So every time somebody complains about the cost of website hosting, that's what goes into it, right? Are they willing to give up search rank so that they don't have to pay $25 a month is the real question. So next, we get into page content. Okay, so content is text, images, videos, graphics, whatever. It's all content. White hat is going to be your page name. What do you name your website? Which then also typically translates into the URL. So how many keywords, search phrases are in the title and name of your article? How many of them are in the URL of your page? Also, how your page is set up and built. There is a specific hierarchy of coding tags that, if in the proper order, you get a bonus point for search ranking. So this is when we talk about content and tag and code hierarchy. Those are the things that we're referring to. So is it structured as headline, subheading, paragraph? Okay. And then there are different levels of headlines. There's headline 1, headline 2, headline 3. There should only ever be a singular headline 1. But if you have multiple, you might actually get dinged for that. So having a singular headline 1 and then having multiple headline 2s. So this is where it comes into play, that knowing how to structure your pages when you are putting them up on your website. You think, oh, headline 1 is always pink and I want all my headlines to be pink, so I'm going to make them all headline 1s. You're dinging yourself in search ranking. Okay. So that's why it's important to know that and to follow the rules and the hierarchy and the structure. With images, you even get into what you name your file for that image. This will help you both in Google in general, because it's going to tell Google that the article that image is on is relevant to that keyword. And in addition, you're going to rank in Google Images, which is a whole other way for people to find your content. So don't just, if your image is named a random series of letters and numbers, you're going to want to change that to the title of your article plus a descriptor, or include keywords in it. Hugely important, and nobody ever does it. And it can help you there. So what you name your image files. Google also has image recognition, right? So it can see what is in that image. And so is what is in that image relevant to the article that the image is with? do they match? So we get into context of, does the word content match the image content? And that's where it's so critical. Don't just throw random images onto something to fill a space, because it could actually hurt you. Because if they're not relevant to each other, you could get dinged and lose a point because Google thinks you're just spamming the site, right? The other thing is valuable and meaningful content. And this is what you guys are creating in your monthly team content. And this is what I've been working with Z and Jojo on, is how to create a process for creating valuable and meaningful content. How-to guides, educational, entertaining, these are all valuable pieces of content that people are actually looking for. And that is one of the most important things about content. Does it provide value to the viewer? The other component is you get into crosslinks. So this is where at like the bottom of an article, you'll see related articles and topics. Because the way crawlers work is they'll go to a page and find all the links to other pages and then go to those other pages. But if pages aren't linked to each other, then how is the crawler supposed to find them to then list them in the search engine? So this is where you want pages all cross-linked to each other. Even within the text of a article, every time a specific phrase is said, it gets linked to a specific article explaining what that phrase is. So that's when you guys are using the internet and see on websites where they have, phrases inside of paragraphs linked to other pages. That's that cross-linking. This is also a component of hub and spoke. So when I talk about creating hub and spoke content, it's creating that overview article, which then links to all those detailed articles, right? So it's creating that cross-linking needed so that the crawler can go find all those pages. And the more valuable content you have, the higher you rank in search engines. So blog articles are a great way to build this content and to rank for keywords related to those articles. Is this all making sense for you guys? Good. All right. I know it's a lot of information. We're like halfway through it. Gray hat. So let's talk about content and gray hat. Gray hat is going to get into, if you guys ever see on websites where they have the location, so like a city name and then the service name, and they have like 20 cities and for the one service. So they have a page for every single city service. Have you guys seen that before online, the city service combination? And every single one of those pages is exactly alike because they just copied and pasted it. So that's gray hat. That's not, they could just have one page saying we service these areas and this is about the service. But spam it with this location service is considered gray hat. It's not banned. It's just frowned upon. It doesn't provide value, right? You're not providing unique value to the visitor. Another component is keyword stuffing. So in your content, if you use, like for us, if we used med spa marketing in every single sentence, even if it wasn't your natural language to say med spa marketing in every single service, right? Or every single sentence, right? It's not how you talk normally. So don't do it in blog articles. It's called keyword stuffing. Low quality content is actually considered gray hat. Don't put out shit. And you will actually get dinged for it. And if the volume and ratio of poor quality content to your high quality content, if your low quality content is 60% of your website and you only have 40% of high quality content, your site overall will get devalued, deducted score, and you will lose ranking. Okay. The newest component is in gray hat is AI generated content. It's gray hat because it's so new that the search engines haven't decided and have said that they haven't decided whether to blacklist it or whitelist it, meaning they haven't decided if it's white hat or black hat. And they're kind of letting people try it out and letting it play out to see if all this automated AI generated content is any good or not. And so that's where AI generated content right now is kind of in that gray hat. It's in limbo. It's too new, so we don't know. Google, every single algorithm update, it looks like they're trending towards allowing it. And they keep modifying. So when I talk about that search engines will teach you how to rank higher, in those instructions to rank higher, they have actually changed some of the wording of the instructions that now make, they used to say human generated content. And now they just say, I forget what the exact words are, but they now just say high value content versus they took out the word human, which then indicates that they're leaning towards accepting AI generated content and aren't going to penalize you for using AI generated content. So that's something that, you know, I pay attention to because I do use AI generated content. With our monthly content, we're using a hybrid of AI and human. So that's where, you know, it's just a gray area. Black hat content is cloaking, meaning that they're going to fill the page with content, but they're going to hide it from humans. And so that only the robot, when crawling the page, is going to see all this content and all these keywords and everything and think that that's what that page is about, and it's really not. And it's called cloaking. So that is black hat. Redirecting. So when I talked about websites that get paid based on views, what they'll do is have they specifically rank a page with valuable content, rank it really high, but then put a redirect on it to send you to the page filled full of ads so that they can get paid. So that's black hat. Copying. So what some sites will do, so same thing where they want a ton of viewership to get paid for their ads, will blatantly plagiarize high ranking content and put it on their page so that they rank higher than you, so that they get all those views. And then when the person goes there, it's just a ton of ads, right? So that's another black hat. Comment spamming is huge, a huge problem all over the internet. Spamming the comment section of a blog to get backlinks to their sites. And some of them even covertly try to do it with kiss ass stuff like, oh, what a great article, it's so well written, blah blah blah, here's a link to my site. Right? Black hat. Comment spamming. Private blog networks. This was one of the techniques being used by our predecessor. Again, cut that shit off real quick. It's where you build a whole multiple websites, so 10 websites of poor quality content that aren't even meant to be ranked, but you build them to rank, to click through to your main site that you do want to drive traffic to. Okay. And it's literally the only purpose is to create these links back to your primary site that you want to rank. So that's called a PBN, a private blog network. Used all over the place. Even big, you know, retailers, Fortune 500s get caught for this shit all the time. Big, big, big no-no. They'll ban the entire PBN and your main website. So don't do it. All right. Next is we're going to get into code. Not too much, but just an overview. You can, they're called snippets, structured data. You can code your website to show differently on search results. So that screenshot of HubSpot is great. You can actually, in the code, so this is where I talked about knowing how to code a website for SEO. You can code your website so that every time you show up in search results, you get multiple page listings in one search result. So instead of just one link, you get 5 or 8 or 10, or depending on how much valuable content you have, right? The other thing you can do is image alt tags, is explaining what the image is, adds keywords, and also helps you rank in Google Images. You can also code your website that every time your search results shows up, your logo shows off to the right. So there are tons of ways that you can code your website to be more eye-catching. So even if you're not first in the result, there's something eye-catching about yours. So even if you rank 3rd or 4th, people are more likely to click on it because the way yours is displayed is different. So that's how you can use page code to help you maybe not even rank, but just get more click-throughs. So again, gray hat, black hat, code stuffing, file names, alt tags. Abusing structured data is black hat. So hidden keywords and codes. So code isn't seen by the human, and sometimes in black hat, you'll keyword stuff the code. So the human never sees it, but the robot does. So those are all no-nos. All right. Any questions about on-site SEO? Cello, you're asking about paying for guest posts. Again, that's a gray area. Yeah. So the way search engines view it is anytime you pay, it's questionable because they don't want people to pay for rank and placement. But you get into this gray area because if you have valuable content and you're just paying to post it, you're providing value, so 1 point for you, but you're paying, so that's 1 point against you. So it's kind of a gray area. If it's not blatant, you can generally do it. So I'm actually not against gray hat. Gray hat can be used if your intent is good and if you're not trying to scam, spam, anything like that. Gray hat can be good. So Ryu.
Yeah, so going back to the gray hats and AI produced content,
Mhm.
what are some ethical considerations should we keep in mind when leveraging AI for SEO strategy?
Sure. So the whole question comes down to valuable content, low quality content, right? So if you are providing value, and I'm going to give some examples of this later on, if you're providing value, then I would consider it okay. If you're just doing it to produce and turn out thousands of low quality articles just to flood your website to get more rankings and stuff like that, if your only intent is to get more rankings, not to help a human, that would be black hat. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it still boils down to quality.
Right? Quality content. So are you providing value to the human is the question. So any other questions so far? Are you guys all following along? I haven't lost you guys yet. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So now let's get into offsite SEO. So that was all stuff you could control on your website. Now we're going to get into the things off your website that also affect your SEO. Okay. So business profiles. This was called GMB, Google My Business. It's no longer. It's called Google Business Profiles, GBP. So y'all have to relearn that terminology, right? So business profiles. This is on any search engine is going to have a business profile. So make sure you are on all of them. So Google, Bing, Yahoo, Crying out loud, AOL, who cares? Get it out there. So it's critical to have these, especially on mobile search, especially if you have a physical retail location and people are trying to find you, trying to map their drive to you, call you, have your hours listed. So it's super important to have these business profiles set up. The other thing for SEO is that they are all consistent, meaning the information you type in on Google Business Profile matches the information you typed in on Bing Business Profile, matches the information on Yahoo Business Profile. Because if there are discrepancies, the search engines don't know which one is correct and don't want to display incorrect information, so they actually just de-rank you if your information is inconsistent because they don't know which is true. And it's all about quality, right? Being correct. And so that's why it's super important that information across all of them is exactly the same. If you type road on your address on one of them, don't put RD on the other one. This is how specific it gets. If your hours are set one way, make sure they're exactly the same on all of them so that it just reinforces to the search engines that this information is all correct and they can happily bubble it up to the top knowing it's correct. The other thing is keeping profiles fresh, because the more they're updated, they know you're still in business, they know you're still interested in getting clients, they know that you're active, right? So that's where posting to your business profiles is so critical, because it's just reaffirming to the search engines that you are active as a business. And with it, you get all those keywords, you get all that information, people can learn more about your business. It benefits the search engines, it benefits the human, and it benefits you. So business profiles, critical. Next, backlinks. So backlinks are a huge part of the scoring system and also one of the most abused in terms of black hat. Um, Backlinks are part of your scoring system. So search engines use a score to determine, and that's where they add points and deduct points, to determine where to rank you for every single search term every single time somebody searches it. Okay. So they're trying to determine what is your authority on the topic that was just typed into the search box. So one of those scoring items is this backlinks, because if multiple other websites all have backlinks to your website for med spa marketing, then you must be an authority on med spa marketing because all of these other people said so, right? Google doesn't know how to say if the information you're on your website is correct or not. They're not going to fact check you. But what they will do is say, do all these other people think that you are correct, right? And if multiple people are linking to you saying this is the website to go to for that topic or that keyword or that phrase, that builds your authority score. So say you get 1 point for every backlink, right? And you have 10 other sites linking to you for this specific keyword or term, you're going to gain all those points. Okay. The other factors that come into play. So Google doesn't just look at backlinks themselves, like how many physical links are to your website. They're also going to look at relevance, context, and the authority score of each of those websites. Relevance saying, is the site that linked to you in the same industry or related to the same search terms? Then they're going to say context. is the article on that site that has a link to you, is the context of that article match the keywords of that search, and do those keywords match the keywords on your website and your articles? Okay. Then they're also going to look at overall site authority of the website as a whole. So they have your whole score. They're now going to look at that website's whole score and say, is this website an authority overall? Right? What's their authority score? That then the higher their authority score bumps up your authority score, because if two high authorities are linking to each other, they're both validating each other. Does this make sense? Good. Emojis? Yeah, good. Okay. So and this happens, here's the thing, is this happens in real time. Every single time you go to Google and type in a search, it runs through all of this logic of determining, based on the keywords you entered, who are the highest authorities, websites, who are the highest authorities on this specific topic, and then on that topic, what specific articles on those authority websites is directly related to that search phrase you just typed in, which is how impressive it is on a technological scale that Google is able to do that at speed every time you type in a search engine and the millions of other people typing searches into search engines. It's very impressive. So anyways, but white hat, have you guys heard of the slow food, slow money movements? I don't know if it's in every country. It's in the US. But basically, the slow movement is about slow food, which is the opposite of fast food, right? Don't eat junk, get quality, live longer, all of that. So, maybe it doesn't have relevance in other countries, but good SEO is relative to the slow movement, slow, healthy growth, slow, healthy ranking. That same thing with backlinks. It's not about, with your website, it's not about how fast you can rank. It's how healthy can you rank. So it's not about backlinks, 100 backlinks from poor, low quality, low scored websites. It's about building authority with other high quality authorities. Okay. So slow, healthy growth wins this long-term SEO ranking race, right? High ranking for a long time is what you get from the slow, healthy growth. You don't have to worry about algorithm changes. And Google is constantly blacklisting these backlink farms. And if you were linked, your website was on a backlink farm, if that backlink farm had a link to your website, you just got dinged and now deranked, right? So you don't have to worry about that. If you are doing white hat and building this healthy long-term growth and ranking, algorithm changes should not affect you. Gray hat is when you're trying to behave, but you want fast results, right? So borderline questionable, depending on how you do it. We use some gray hat techniques. In fact, I just told Hannah to do one the other day with signal genesis. Again, you get into paid placement because you want your article to get distributed because it has a backlink in the article to your website. Not a problem, except you're paying for that. But you're also offsetting it with valuable content. So that's where you get into that balance of sometimes you can enlist a gray hat if your intent is to provide value. Okay. So we may get dinged down the line. We may not. If the article is valuable enough and people love it and it gets distributed on other sites and they're able to access it from those, fantastic. So just be aware of that. In my projects, I use gray hat usually on new projects just to get them out. And then while in the background, I'm working on my white hat because white hat takes longer. So black hat, never touch it. We'll never do it. It's unethical. So, all right, next, citations. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard this word, citations for SEO. Some people will say citations are dead. They're not. They're still there. You just get a very low score advantage from them. But they're there for context, for the search engines to know. So this is just like the business profiles, but this is everything else. Yelp, Yahoo, City Search. Some of these are really old and archaic, but they still provide value and validity to your business. So the fact that you're listed on all of these and your information is consistent, okay? So it's that consistency that builds up your score. Just reaffirming that you're an actual real business, okay? So even if you're not active on them or whatever, but the fact that you're listed reaffirms you're valid. The other thing too is don't go putting effort into citations in directories of the wrong audience. So don't go get listed in Germany German directories if your audience is in the US, because that will actually detract from your score. So you want to make sure that any citations are relevant citations. If you're an international company with an international audience, sure, go get listed in all of the countries that you do business in. Yext is a helpful service for this. You guys see this in high level. There's a Yext service offered. It's like $50 a month. This is a service that makes sure you're listed in all of the relevant directories and that your information is correct. So every time a customer says, hey, should I get this? It's up to them. It's not going to give them a huge advantage, but it is nice. And it's just reaffirming to search engines that you're a valid company. And it makes sure that all of your information is consistent across all of them. So instead of you manually going to each of these websites, filling out your profile, risking a typo in your profile, right? So you can pay for the service to make that happen. Next is mentions. So mentions go hand in hand with context. And one of the first questions, Google is looking at is, are people talking about your brand? Are they talking about your brand? Are they mentioning your website? Are they referencing your articles? Are they tagging you on social media? Are they commenting on your social media? You get points for that. Then it gets into what are they saying? Is it good or is it bad? Plus or minus points for that. Who are they? And are they an authority? Plus or minus points for that, right? So are they in your industry or a related industry? Or does the industry have nothing to do with you? So then you get plus or minus points for that. So basically, search engines are just looking for this validation to determine if you are an authority in your space. And if authorities in your space are talking about you, and hopefully it's in a positive light. Okay. So then you win more points to your score and your ranking. And it also depends on what they are saying. So what keywords and phrases are being used, and tying those keywords and phrases back to you and your website so that you rank higher for those specific keywords and phrases. And for a while, search engines didn't use social media, but over the past couple of years, they are. So where social media posts are public, these are now a determining factor in your authority. So this is why it's also really important to stay active as a company on social media. A lot of companies are like, I don't want to do social media. It doesn't matter. I don't get leads from it. But they do get leads from search ranking, and their social media will influence their search rankings. So make sure you always include your brand name and keywords in posts, because then as others interact with those posts, comment on those posts, share those posts, it's just an amplifier for search engines to recognize you as an authority, and it helps build that score for you. So, and as a side benefit, on top of earning that higher score, you're also going to gain new traffic from those posts and those leads. And of course, from those leads, you get sales, right? So it doesn't hurt. There's nothing about social media that is gonna hurt, unless of course you're just a shitty business with bad reviews, right? But overall, social media is great and works as an amplifier to what you're already doing for online marketing. It all matters. So this is why marketing is not just one thing. It's compounding, and each piece of marketing builds on top of each other. Okay, so this is also why we reworked our marketing packages here at MedspaBloom for our clients, because all these components build on top of each other, and it takes all these components to have good marketing, to get good leads, to get better sales, right? So ads for immediate sales and leads. You have social media to build trust, both for search engines and for potential new customers, to build that trust, legitimacy, the mentions, the leads. You use content and articles in SEO. That's going to get you search ranking, which then gets you traffic and mentions and backlinks, which is going to get you more leads. And then, of course, your email and text campaigns are there to sustain loyalty and ongoing sales, right? So they all build on top of each other. It all matters, and it's all compounding. And the longer you do it and the more consistently you do it, the better it gets. And you get that almost passive lead generation because of these compounding effects. So hundreds of other factors go into your search ranking. So what determines you rank higher? Okay. So click-through rate is a big one. So how many people in the search results, how many people clicked on yours over others in that search ranking? So based on the search term, how relevant was your website to what they were looking for? Even if you were the third or fourth result, if more people click on your stuff, it's going to rank you higher because it knows that more people wanted what you were offering. So there is a black hat technique. And again, this was the predecessor company was using this technique that uses an automation to go to the search term, click on your link, no matter where it ranked in the results, and trick the search engines to thinking that you were getting really high click-through rates. And that's a black hat technique, but you run these systems. And again, if you get caught, you're going to get blacklisted. So, but how many people clicked through? Once the person clicks through, did they stay on your website? How long did they stay on your website? And did they click to another page? Or what's called a bounce rate, did they go there and immediately leave? So under 5 seconds, did they leave? Because that means it was the wrong information, and you'll actually get deranked for a really high bounce rate, meaning people went there thinking it was one thing, were disappointed because it wasn't what they were looking for, so they left, which tells Google your page wasn't relevant to that search. phrase or keyword. Okay. Engagement. So how much time did they spend on the page? And did they go through to another page? Meaning what they found on your website was of value and they wanted more. So then did they go to another page to go look for more value? And you'll actually get upranked for high time on site, engagement time, and also the more people that click through to other pages so they didn't bounce, you'll get upranked for that. Retention rate, meaning how many people came back. So how many people went there, loved it, and then came back to you, or even searched again and clicked on it and came back to you? So how many are returning visitors? This is also where Google Analytics comes in. It's both a benefit and a hindrance if you have Google Analytics installed on your website, because they can then track, not only can they track people's behavior on the search engine, but then once they go to your website, big brother, big data, track them all the way through your website because you have Google Analytics installed. And how they interact with your website will also contribute to how you rank in the future for search terms, search phrases. Mobile friendliness, also known as responsive design. So does your website adapt to screen size? Huge ranking points for this, or deranking, because a lot of online traffic now is all on mobile devices and they don't want people to have a poor experience. So they're going to derank you if you don't have a mobile friendly or responsive website. So this is also where it's important to track your data, because if you do have pages that have high bounce rates or low engagement, you can actually just get rid of the page so it doesn't drag the score of your site down overall. So if you see that this page is not bringing value to people, you have a really high bounce rate, really low engagement rate, get rid of it. Why have that page on your website if nobody values it and nobody wants it? And it will up your overall score. If you do have content and pages that people love, are getting really high click-through rates, engagement time, retention, make more of that topic and make more of those types of pages, because that will just drive everything up altogether for your site. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the downfalls. So just some things to be aware of. So this is blacklisting. These are two very real, recent examples. The data screenshots there. So if you get caught breaking the rules, applying these black hat techniques, you will get blacklisted and banned from Google, right? So constant algorithm updates are looking for people trying to game the system and find the loopholes, and you'll get penalized from it or straight out banned. And Reddit is full of all these cheaters and spammers who fucked around and found out that they did all these black hat techniques and paid consequences. And the algorithm just changed, I believe in March was a huge algorithm change, and tons of sites got banned and delisted or deranked. And these are screenshots. So the top one is from a guy on Reddit who had an e-com site. Algorithm changed, got delisted. The second screenshot is one of my websites. Because I applied only white hat and minimal black hat, I actually benefited from that algorithm change because I wasn't breaking any of the rules. And that's how drastic it can be. Look at his, went almost to nothing. And if, look at the money. We were talking, $1 million. If you're pulling in hundreds of $1,000s a day and all of a sudden your traffic drops to nothing, you're SOL and out of money. So that's the thing to pay attention to, right? So break the rules, lose your rank, lose your traffic, lose your sales. The other thing is scoring. So there's lots of scores that go into this. Your domain scoring, how your, we talked about your what contributes to your domain name, your authority score. The other thing I encourage is if you have a business idea, always be thinking ahead, right? If you're like, yeah, this is something I want to do in the future, go register your domain name and let it sit there and age. Because spammers register hundreds of domain names to launch new websites to spam people, scam people, all of that. So having a young, new registered domain name is actually detrimental. And so I even do this with Facebook pages. I'll just go set up a page and let it age until I'm ready to use it. And I'll do this with domain names also. So you could even, if you know what the business is going to be about, put up some content on it so that that content then ages, and even update it regularly. Even if regularly is once a month or twice a year, if you're putting up that content, Google sees it as active. And so you can keep it, get it set up, let it age, keep the content on it. It's going to build those scores in the background until you're ready to actually launch that business and build that business. Freshness of content. So how often are you posting? Are you posting consistently? Like I said, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, annually, are you posting consistently? Are you going back and updating old pages? So a lot of times people will push out thousands of pages of content and then never go back and update them. So they actually get deranked because they never got updated. So it's good to go back through old content, just change a couple sentences, just make some changes to it, and then Google will see it as fresh. Relevance is going to be based on your content compared to the search word and phrase put in at the moment by that person. Do they match? Higher the relevance, the higher the rank. Location is also a factor. So location will be based on the location of the person physically typing into the search box and the physical location of your business, and are they close by? Right? So that's that near me. That's those keywords that apply when somebody says near me. How physically close are they to your business? And this also ties into your maps profile. Critical if you have a retail location, how close is the location? There's hundreds of other points. These are all the most important. So when setting up your SEO, working on your SEO, keep all of that in mind. There's also a thing called negative SEO. And this is, I mentioned it briefly in the beginning, this is where you actively go after your competitors and apply black hat tactics to your competitors just for the purpose of getting them penalized, deranked, and even blacklisted. This comes down to fake reviews, writing articles, keyword stuffing them, hidden code, and pushing it out under their brand name to get them penalized. It happens all the time. And this is where monitoring your data and analytics and tracking is so important to see if you're applying all white hat and all of a sudden your stuff tanks, there's something wrong. And so you can go actively see if anybody's doing anything malicious, and there's also ways to file appeals with Google. You can disavow links. If you've ever heard that term of disavowing a link, saying, hey, I didn't do that. I didn't pay for that backlink. That's not mine. You can do that in Google Search Console. There's a lot of ways to fight negative SEO if you have somebody going after you. So the reality, right? So SEO in all reality comes down to two things. And this is know what you want. I cannot emphasize this enough. Know what you want. What is your objective? And then know what your audience wants. And that goes into your content. So if you align the two things of know what you want, so your objective, and what the audience wants, which is the content. So align objective and content. You're golden, you're good, you're set. And this will pay off in your SEO approach and tactics and activities. Okay. So knowing what you want. This also gets into how you translate data. And so having websites and doing SEO is all about leads, right? So we talked about the whole entire point is to get leads so you can get sales, so you can make money. So if you have millions of people going to your website who are not your target audience, then it's just a waste of time, effort, and cost for you. Because SEO activities need to be on target to get you good returns. And this is where we get into quality over quantity. Quality traffic equals quality leads. And so knowing what you want, okay, that's always the key. Know what you want. Do you want them to fill out a lead capture form? Do you want them to sign up for a free account? Do you want them to request an appointment? Know what you want and track it, because this will tell you if the traffic you're getting is quality traffic or not. Okay, so if you're tracking what you want, because if your overall traffic is down, but what you want is up. So say you want membership signups. If your traffic is down, but your membership signups are up, you're on the right track. So less quantity of traffic, but higher quality of traffic means that you're reaching your target audience. So know what you want, know who your target audience is, craft content for them, and it will naturally attract them in, and it will pay off in the long run. So this is a screenshot of actual data for my Top Horse Trails website. You can see my traffic is down, but I don't care because my objective is new member accounts, and it's up by 3%. So I don't care that my traffic is dropping as long as my new member accounts is going up. It means that I'm reaching the right audience. And although, quantity of traffic is down, quality of traffic is up. So just because you see a down number doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So that's understanding what you want and then looking at the data with that in mind. This again is my Top Horse Trail site. This is 2-year span of data. This specific website is 2 years old, from June of 2022 to June of 2024. This is a niche inside a niche. So this is a niche of equestrians and a sub niche of trail riding equestrians. Okay. So this is an example of where I hired an SEO agency. We launched a new website in June of 2022. I hired an SEO agency because I didn't have time to do it. So I hired an agency in July of 2022 because it was a new website, and new websites will always take a hit on traffic and ranking while Google has to recrawl them and rescore everything. So every time we launch a new website for clients, we should let them know that their SEO ranking will take a hit. And it's just when Google has to refigure out their rank and how valuable they are, right? So I launched a new website, so I hired an SEO agency to help offset that new website launch. The problem is that they just got me junk backlinks and produced junk content. So sure, while my backlink numbers, you can see them, they skyrocketed, right? So my backlink numbers skyrocketed, which any person looking at this would be, wow, fantastic, that's great, you guys are doing great. But if you actually look at traffic, and what's not on here is member signups. My traffic did not go up, and my signups did not go up. So because I knew what to look for, because I knew what I wanted new member signups. I knew what to look for to know that what they were doing was not working. If you did not know this, you would think that they were doing great. But I knew, based on the lack of organic traffic increase and the lack of membership increase, that they were not reaching my target audience, and that whatever they were doing sucked, at least for my sub niche. And that's probably because, as an SEO agency, they didn't understand my target audience and what that target audience wanted. And this is why it's so important to have eyeballs on your stuff, especially when you hire somebody else to do work on it. And this is also why it's so important to hire professionals and agencies within your niche, because they will understand what your target audience is looking for, what your target audience is interested in, and how to reach them. Okay. And this plays into MedspaBloom, that we specifically are a marketing agency for med spas, that we know the med spa industry, that we know the target audience of med spas, and that we specifically are primed to help our clients get better results and better returns on investment than if they just went with any generic, generalized agency. So in this situation with Top Horse Trails, I had to take self-responsibility for this. I hired the wrong agency. I didn't blame them for this. I hired the wrong agency because I didn't check to see if they knew my target audience. So I actually cut them loose in November after I saw this data, right? So I knew that it just wasn't a fit, okay? And the problem here was that my product and my target audience were so niche, because they were a sub niche of a niche, that this was something that I had to do myself, because there weren't any agencies out there that specialized in targeting this sub niche, which also tells me that there's a business opportunity right there. But I ended up hiring a content writer, and his only job is to produce one valuable article per day. And he posts this to the website and then shares it on social media. And that's it. That is his only job. His name is Carlos. He's amazing. He's been at it for over a year now. So he writes about one horse campground every day. I hired him in February 2023, and you can see the slight uptick in impressions and traffic on there. And that's from one article a day. All right. Then I learned AI content generation and how to scale it. So how to automate it. And that was June of 2023. Look at the data. May to June is where I learned automated AI content generation. So then I took my knowledge of this very niche industry, I applied it to my AI prompts for content generation. I then built in some research and validations into my prompts and turned the robots loose. Okay. And you can see the effects it had on my traffic, on my impressions, on my backlinks, on the indexing of my website. And I did one batch of articles in June, and I did one batch of articles in December. So content matters, and knowing your target audience matters, and producing content that your target audience cares about is the singular most important thing you can do for SEO. And it doesn't have to mean more work. So all of these gains came from 2 days of work. 2 days. That's it. 1 day in June and 1 day in December. And most of that time wasn't even working. It was me babysitting the automation while it ran in the background, doing research, writing articles, and then automating, posting the articles to my website. So I wasn't actually even physically working during those 2 days. I was just watching it to make sure it didn't fuck up. And you can see the effects that it had. So work smarter, not harder, right? So I'm about due for another day of work. It's 6 months, every 6 months. Looks like a good time frame. But this entire website is built to be passive income and is self-maintaining. So I work on this website 2 or 3 times a year. And then other than Carlos writing his articles and posting them, that's all that goes into this website. And it is self-generating, self-regulating, self-running, everything is automated. So at this point, it just keeps growing on its own, and I don't have to do anything. And over these past few weeks, all of that work is compounding, and it's now bringing in 2 to 3 paid membership signups per day at $30 each. And I'm not even doing anything. It's just running on its own and making deposits into my bank account, right? So this is where figuring out your systems, your processes, your SEO, your marketing, all of that. We don't even market this. Our only marketing is Carlos writing 1 article a day, and the rest was all automated. So that's where it makes a difference on how you build out your websites and your setups, and everything can make a difference in active revenue or passive revenue. Here's another screenshot. Same site. These are all the keywords and phrases I'm ranking for. So check the February 2023 date. That's when Carlos started. Check the June 2023 date. That is the first time I added AI generated content. Check the December 2023 date. That is when I added about 2,000 AI generated articles. And look how it jumped up. Okay. And these are not just generic trash, low quality articles. So I took care in crafting to learn how to write the right prompt, to have ChatGPT to do the research, to then come back and write this article. And every time I do this, I keep optimizing and keep getting better to generate higher quality content. So even though it's automated, and even though it's AI generated, the quality keeps getting better as I keep improving my prompt crafting. So in this case, these articles are all based on national forests and state parks that allow horses on the trails. So if anybody ever does a search for their local state park, and if it has horse trails, our article typically shows up first. And that's where they come to our website and will read the article and say, oh, that's super cool. I wonder what other information they have. And they click to the next page, which then right there earns me points in search engines because they didn't bounce, right? So then they go find the rest of the site. They're like, wow, this is great. In order to use the site, you have to set up a free membership, which is my KPI, right? My key indicator that I'm looking for is membership signups. So then they sign up for the website to get access to more information. And then if they want to use the tools, they have to pay the membership fee. So that right there is generating, just by doing these AI articles, people arrive and read the article, love it, go use the rest of the site, sign up for a free account, want full access to the tools, and pay for access to it. So work smarter, not harder. So planning your SEO, know what you want, what your objective is, know what your target audience wants so you can produce the content, and then figure out what to produce and then how to produce it at scale. And this is where I used the combination of UiPath and ChatGPT to run those automations. And I've taught, end of last year, I taught on how to do that. So how to scale content production. This is a dashboard I use for Top Horse Trails. I track everything on one page. And this tracks everything. So know what you want and then know how to look at the data. So this tracks my search ranking. This tracks my website traffic. It tracks my click-through rates, my conversion rates, social media activity, how many followers I have, my engagement rates on my website, sign-up rates by source. So whether it's search or social media, and then of course also like sign-up revenue. This does not count my compounding renewal revenue. So, but this allows me to see my entire site all at once, all in one screen, and then I can make decisions on, oh, it's time for me to do another batch run of content. Or, oh no, I'm going to let this keep running. It's doing fine, right? So knowing what you want, knowing what your audience wants, and knowing how to look at the data. And that's where you get into data analysis skills. But we'll cover that in another presentation, but it's how to look at the data. Okay, so the key tools for SEO, and we only have like 2 more slides left. Key tools for SEO is analytics. So you can track hits, engagement time, bounce rates, all of that kind of stuff. Google Search Console is going to tell you how you're ranking, your click-through rates, where you're ranking, what keywords you're ranking for, and those are all free. Ahrefs and SEMrush are to track keywords, competitor performance, all of that. Those are paid. Dashboards like the one I just showed you, that was DataBox. That's a paid dashboard, but I pay for the convenience to see everything in one place so I can make immediate decisions looking at 2 different data points and cross-comparing and saying, okay, action is needed or action is not needed, right? So I can see it all in one place. Other things you can look into are click map tracking, scroll map tracking, A/B testing. Those are if you want to get into individual page optimization. So if you want a specific page to rank for specific keywords and phrases, that's where you would get into that click map, scroll map, A/B testing tools. And those are typically all paid. So getting started. This is your action items. If you guys want to do SEO, content, content, content. I cannot say it enough. If you want to use SEO to get leads and customers, content, content, content. Make sure your website is set up to best support that content. So if you're going to be producing a lot of content, WordPress is a great site to get going. It was originally a blog platform. It's built for housing lots of content, for interlinking content, all of that. So it's a great, good start. I already trained a class on how to set up a WordPress website. It took less than 10 minutes to set up a WordPress website from scratch. So set up a site. Make sure you have tracking from the get-go so that you can tell what content is making a difference, how people are reacting to your content. And then also knowing what you want. What's your objective? Is it free account signups? Is it filling out a lead form? Is it purchasing something? Is it booking an appointment, right? So know what you want. Then start producing that content. So once you have your site set up, you have your objectives in place, start building out content, valuable content based on what your target audience wants. So create the content they need and want, whether it's how-to guides, product reviews. In my case, I have an information directory. Find out what they want and build it, okay? Then publish it. So publish it to your website, to your blog, link it on your socials, share it to your search and maps profiles, distribute it. This is gray hat, but distribute it on networks like Signal Genesis or PR Newswire. Just get it out there, build those roads, right? It'll take a few weeks for it to get going, but once the search engine sees you're a real website, a real business, you have fresh content, you're in all the listings and directories, you're a valid business, right? So it'll start ranking you for search terms. Track it all, analyze the data, know what data to act on, and then adjust accordingly. And keep doing it. Results are compounding, right? So I've showed you data for 2 years. Look at 2 years what it took to get to where I'm at with a brand new website, right? So results are compounding. So consistency and persistence are what are going to get you guys there. So if you guys have side hustles, other businesses, consistency and persistence. That is it. I do want to say, as marketers, we have such an advantage over other entrepreneurs, because if you know how to market a company or a service or a product, you are way ahead of 90% of other people. So think ahead, plan it out, make strategic moves well in advance of launching companies, products, and services so that it puts you into the right position to go to market faster. Okay, so it's so critical to know and understand marketing overall, even if it's just for your side hustle, so that you can take advantage of what you're learning here at this company, so that you can apply it to your job, you can apply it to your clients here, you can apply it to your side hustles, you can apply it to if you're going to build a company down the road. Start applying it and planning for it so that you get that advantage. And marketing is such a huge component of having a successful company. So my thing is, I want to be able to say I knew you when, right? So when you guys all make it big and you're all the new Googles and Facebooks and CEOs of these companies, I want to be able to say I knew you guys when, right? And you can be like, I remember that time Micah made us sit through 2 hours of SEO training, but because of it, I learned how to do this thing and I built this SaaS app and now I'm this giant billionaire SaaS owner, right? So anyways, okay, so that's it, you guys. Questions? How do I help you guys become the next big thing? Nothing? Nobody? Are you all pondering your empire building? Brain transplants. Yeah, they're actually working on it. It's probably a couple of years out. Data dump. Hannah, drug dealer. Yeah. Are you guys going to go negative SEO, all your competitors, now that you know it's a thing? So awesome. All right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and end this session. If you guys do have questions, feel free to ping me. But other than that, thank you for sitting through 2 hours of SEO.